Prime Minister is on his way to Jakarta's presidential palace, where he's set to be greeted by a grand ceremonial welcome. He's there to sign an historic security agreement between Australia and Indonesia. Political correspondent Cameron Redden is outside the palace, Cam, and there are no expenses being spared for this welcoming party.
Become much grander than this, Kieran. In fact, the Prime Minister's motorcade just pulling into the Merdeka Palace here at the moment. There's a fleet of 30 motorcycles, 120 soldiers on horseback. It's not the first time he's received a ceremonial welcome like this, but the Prime Minister believes that these sorts of shows of strength, of solidarity, of partnership between Australia and Indonesia are reflective of the bond not just between the two leaders, but between the two nations as well. Behind all the ceremonial welcome here, as he now makes his way into the Merdeka Palace in Jakarta, is to sign what he believes is a watershed security agreement to bring Australia and Indonesia closer together and to align their thinking when it comes to responding to the many challenges that they face when it comes to regional security, be that from China or be that from somewhere else. Here, and you can see some of the horses coming in behind us, 120 of those in all. The Prime Minister's motorcade now entering through the presidential palace gates. The Foreign Minister, Penny Wong, is here as well. And on the sidelines to all this event, there are a series of business meetings too to further develop the business and economic relationship between Australia and Indonesia. But as we have a look now, the Prime Minister's motorcade coming through, the limousine, a couple of motorcycles flanking him here too, Kieran. President Prabowo Subianto on hand here to welcome him to the Merdeka Palace for the second time in a little under a year, his fifth visit as Prime Minister, but he believes, Kieran, this will be one of the most substantial given the treaty to be signed in the next couple of hours.
Indeed, you got the security question, Cam. This week as well, Nicholas Moore, the government's envoy for Southeast Asia, has had a trade delegation in Indonesia as well. There's really two parts to this story, isn't there? You've got the security one, but also the economic relationship, as we see the Prime Minister there greeted by the Indonesian leader, Prabowo, and embracing each other there outside the palace. And Cameron, the government keen to really try and get those economic relations at a better, more ingrained level, really, with a nation that's going to be one of the biggest economies in the world over the next decade or so.
A nation, Kieran, as some of the horses just make a dramatic entrance here. I think we've lost a soldier down there as well, but they're making their way through nonetheless. Kieran, in terms of the economic point, you're right. Indonesia currently the 17th largest economy in the world, but think of the next 15 years. By 2040, it'll rise to the top 5. Already a nation of more than 285 million people. It'll well exceed the 300 million by the time we're into the next decade. It's already our largest purchaser of things like live cattle, of wheat, one of Australia's most important agricultural exports, and it wants to do more business as well on things like education and on healthcare too. So beneath all the defence and security conversations, the treaty to be signed today, the economy is also a critical point. It is our largest neighbour in the Indo-Pacific, one of our most important defence and security allies, and of course, you look at those numbers too, one of our growing, more important economic allies as well.
Yeah, quite a fair bit of pomp and ceremony there, an elaborate welcome for the Prime Minister. And now we can hear the national anthem being played as the two leaders have made their way through the presidential palace forecourt. Let's have a listen in. Prime Minister's not in Indonesia for too long, just a full day on the ground. Cam Redden's with us there at the presidential palace, and it follows a brief visit to East Timor in the last week as well. So his focus in foreign policy terms, Cam, has really been on Australia's backyard in recent times.
Certainly has, Kieran. In just the last couple of years, you can list off the defence and security treaties the Prime Minister has signed with Papua New Guinea, a mutual defence treaty, essentially elevating that partnership to an alliance level like we have with the United States. There have been other deals too with Tuvalu, with Nauru, and this one's so critical because it means that not only will the leaders be talking more regularly, the foreign ministers talking more regularly, but they will look at the security challenges in the region through a common lens. And yes, that might sound like technocratic jargon to people on the street, but the purpose here really is to get us thinking on the same page, to alleviate any concerns about potential differences of view when it comes to challenges the region faces. Kieran, Indonesia has this foreign policy stance of non-alignment. That means that as well as working with Australia and the US, it's also expanding ties with the likes of China and Russia, with whom it's done military drills in recent years. You mentioned the context of East Timor too, the Prime Minister making a visit there in recent weeks. The history of this agreement has been based largely on the one signed by Prime Minister Paul Keating in 1995. That was a very similar agreement to what's been signed today, but of course that faded away through the East Timor crisis. It was essentially abandoned. The Lombok Treaty then in 2006 re-established the strength of the relationship between the two countries, and today the Prime Minister says it goes one step further, putting us as close to a like mind as has been the case in many decades about how these two countries view the challenges in our backyard.
Indeed, and the Prime Minister now being introduced to members of the cabinet level ministers there in Indonesia as he heads in for these talks with President Prabowo. And you touched on this earlier, Cam, and I think it's an important one: is that personal rapport between leaders. It doesn't make for everything, but it certainly does help. It doesn't hurt the situation as two nations are trying to build a stronger relationship. And certainly that was something that we've seen in the past as Penny Wong is greeted by the President as well. But yeah, we've seen it in the past. SBY, the former President, John Howard and others through that time of engagement with Indonesia, really building those personal relationships too, which help along the way. And then you have the security arrangement announced today off the back of what has been a growing security partnership too in the wake of the Bali bombing. Cam, the federal police played a big role in boosting Indonesian security capacity in the investigation after that terrible terrorist attack. And since then, Indonesia's been so effective in combating Islamic extremism through the form of that group, Jemaah Islamiyah. But you have now the Prime Minister heading in with Prabowo. We'll have more when it comes through. Cam, I think, in fact, we might just stay with it because they might say a few words as they're taking an official photograph, Cam, and you've got the handshake happening and all the cameras there and a very vibrant Indonesian media, isn't it, as well, Cam?
Yep, a cast of at least 150 or so down here. We're on the lawns of the Merdeka Palace at the moment, Kieran. And to add to one point you've made there as well about the strength of the personal bond here, this treaty to be signed today is something Anthony Albanese put on the agenda when he came here last year. Remember, the first visit after his election win, he said he wanted to come to Indonesia, and he came with this pitch of a stronger, more effective security deal. The Indonesians liked the sound of it. They said, go away, work on the detail. Australia led the drafting of this agreement. It was announced on the back of the HMAS Canberra in Garden Island in Sydney Harbour in November last year, and now the Prime Minister travelling here to Jakarta to make it official. They do have a strong bond, Kieran, and that has been a hallmark of the way the Prime Minister has approached relations in the Pacific. He wants to build personal rapport because he believes that will lead to stronger ties between the people of both nations, the militaries and their security apparatus as well.
Cam, let's see if we can have a listen to the Prime Minister and President.
Here, our Parliament is sitting this week. I finished question time a little bit early, straight to the airport, straight here.
Thank you. I apologize I didn't meet you at the airport last night. I had a meeting until 10 o'clock.
But President, it's wonderful, and we were met by ministers, and we've always feel very welcome here.
Thank you.
We have neighbours and friends, and this is my 5th visit now to Indonesia as Prime Minister, and I've been here many more times than that, but 5 times in under 4 years. And that says a lot about how close the relationship is. And today, with the signing, we're going to take that relationship to the strongest it has ever been, and that is so important.
Thank you very much. I really actually hope that we could stay a bit more longer.
Yeah.
But this one you come peace with your wife.
Next time. Yeah. And this is in between a sitting week, so we're scheduling with the incident that we had in December. Meant that this is a short visit, but an important visit. And the next visit will be much longer.
Thank you.